Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Hartford Whalers expansion franchise here on NHL 24. In the last episode, we witnessed calamity in Colorado, as I coined it, as we defeated the Colorado Avalanche 6-5 in probably the most epic game we've seen so far in this series. Nathan MacKinnon scored twice against us, but that wasn't enough for a Filip Zadina hat trick. And to start this episode, we'll just take a quick look at our lines, as we're riding a 9-game point streak at the start of this episode, 7-0-2 in that span. We moved Zadina up to the top line along with Mark Scheifele and Patrick Kane, and we saw, and I just mentioned in the last episode, Zadina with a hat trick and an assist in that win over the Avalanche. A career year. Last year he set career highs with 16 goals, 24 assists, and 40 points, and now he is already tied the assists and just three short of goals and points with 25 games left in this season. So a career year so far for the former number 6 overall pick in the 2018 draft, really resurrecting his career here as we envisioned in that expansion draft. Mark Scheifele with 40 assists, already more than any Hartford Whaler had last season. He's been tremendous all year, although his production has dipped a little bit in the past couple games. Patrick Kane, our leader in goals, assists, and points last season, another productive year, as he's 36 years old now, and I don't know if he's going to be a member of this team following the season. Arvidsson scored 3 goals in the last episode over those 4 games, as he's kind of got his production up a little bit, and we kind of need him to get going here down the stretch. Scott Laughton and Tom Wilson accompany him on the second line. Tom Wilson with 34 points so far, a little bit short of what I was expecting, although he has picked it up here lately, and his physical presence is always imposed on the opponent out there, as you can see in our live look-ins. Compher is with Andrew Mangiapane and Leo Carlsson on the third line. Carlsson had a goal in a simmed game last episode, although his production still at a measly 24 points. We need him to get going here in his second season. The bottom line has been phenomenal all year. Foligno is set. I think he is set for career high on assists, almost just 4 short of his total in 2022 with 19. And he's having a good season here for the Whalers as our grinder, our imposer, and our intimidator. Jake Evans, good production on the fourth line at a +9. And Nolan Patrick in 46 games has 22 points and a +9. Already more in every offensive category than he had last season in less games. So he's on pace to post career highs pretty much in every category if he can knot a few more goals here in the late part of the season. Now we got to talk about defense. As we enter the trade deadline here in a few games, defense is what I'm looking to improve. We have a couple options, and I'll show them to you here shortly. But right now, we're definitely going to leave Sami Maki in our number 1 overall pick at a +15. Mainly working on that third pairing here with Sean Walker, although Maki's been up and down between the first, second, and third unit. But we want to keep him out there, keep developing him, as he's started his career pretty well here, and we expect a big jump from him in the next year or two. Sebastian Aho we've had playing out there in place of Logan Stanley, and he's been pretty well. A more productive defenseman that we've had is we only have a offensive defenseman in Tyson Barrie and just Aho. And Barrie, his production hasn't quite been there, but his veteran presence we kind of need on the top lines there, along with Dmitry Orlov, who he's been good defensively. Offensively, not too much production, but still respectable, although he is declining, as we'll look at progress reports later on. And then Cody Ceci, 10 goals, a +29 assists. A career high for him in goals. And, he could eclipse his career high in points, 28 a few seasons ago. But Cody Ceci, the 10 goals, did not expect that, just 2 last year. So Ceci's offensive production there with Sebastian Aho has been very well. Then goalies, of course, Jacob Markstrom just returned for injury after missing 2 months, and he's been very, very good for us and much better than what we had last season. Even with that being said, though, Scott Wedgwood's been up and down as a backup, but overall very good, as he was forced to fill in for Markstrom for a good part of Markstrom's absence. Wedgwood is actually this franchise all-time leader in wins thus far, as we're just over halfway through year 2, so still very early in this series, obviously. So we'll jump into it here as we hit the road against Vegas, who have fallen off here in year 2. They were a playoff team last year, but now well out of the playoff pictures. Mark Scheifele, just 12 seconds in, that's a goal. And we'll sim the rest of that first period, and that's the only scoring. Then we sim the second, and Leo Carlsson just saying he needs to get going as he nets one to put Hartford up 2-0. And then Vegas does get one there in the third, but that's not enough as Markstrom stops 37 shots out of 38. So Markstrom has been a complete difference maker for us this season. Playing just out of his mind. So now that brings Hartford to a 10-game point streak, as we do currently hold a playoff spot. So that's 1 out of 6 games we're going to sim before the trade deadline, 4 of which are against teams not currently in the playoff picture. Sim that first period against the Lightning, and Mark Scheifele again with an early first period goal. And then Lightning tie it up there. Kucherov ties it up. Then Jake Evans with a shorty to put the Whalers up, but then a late power play goal by Victor Hedman ties it. And we'll let this third period play out here with a little live sim action as Tom Wilson a goal to put Hartford up 3-2. Everything starting out perfectly here. Tom Wilson getting going, Leo Carlsson getting going, Markstrom playing well, and let's see if we can hold it here. The Lightning are out shooting us by about 10 here. Less than a minute now. And the Whalers hang on and advance to an 11-game point streak. 9-0-2 over that stretch. And Markstrom, another tremendous performance. 32 saves on 34 shots. So we're climbing up the standings here. Playing tremendous hockey as of late. Now a home game against the Montreal Canadiens. Another team not currently in the playoff picture. We jump up 2-1 with 2 goals there from Mangiapane. Less than 3 minutes apart, one on the power play as Cole Caulfield nets one for the Habs. We had extend our lead with a Victor Arvidsson goal there in the second. And we had another one there from Mark Scheifele and win 4-1 here at home. And a 12-game point streak now for Hartford. We got something cooking here. 2 former Flames there, Mangiapane and Markstrom, the first and second star respectively. I'm very, very impressed with how things are going here. But now we do face a tough task. And we do get a trade offer for Esa Lindell, who is one of the 2 defensemen I'm targeting at the deadline. So we're not going to move Lawton, but we're definitely going to try to explore a trade for Esa Lindell. And now 3 straight road games to take us into the deadline. One here against the Capitals, who are ahead of us right now in the Metro. So I want to make sure Markstrom's in for this one, which he is. Playing very good hockey since returning from injury. So this is our biggest game probably of this 6-game set before the deadline. Tied up 2-2 after the first. A goal from Foligno, Svechnikov, and Milano get the Capitals up 2, and then Comfort ties it late. And then we jump ahead 4-3 with a goal from Patty Kane, Mark Scheifele, and then Dylan Strome gets the Capitals back within 1. So we will live sim this third period. And Zadina gets one there. And Dylan Strome answers right back. 27 seconds later, the Capitals still within 1. And then Sean Walker with 1 2.5 minutes later. So now Hartford up 6-4 in a high-scoring affair. Now less than 5 minutes in this game. And it looks like Hartford is going to win another one here. Is that the lucky 13 now for a point streak? We have a Poughkeepsie injury. Poughkeepsie Panthers, our AHL squad. And now we'll keep it going here with a game at Anaheim. And now we are going to give Markstrom a rest in this one, a road game against the Ducks. Like I said in the last episode, we don't want to really overdo it with Markstrom here, especially coming off injury, as he is getting older. I think he's 36 this year, so even though he's playing well, we got to kind of be a little conservative with him heading into the playoffs if we're so lucky to make it. As we do jump ahead 2-1, goals from Patty Kane and Mark Scheifele, and Terry a late one for Anaheim. We extend the lead there, a goal from Mangiapane. And we'll let this third period play out. We got a 13-game point streak. Tom Wilson on the power play makes it 4-1. A 5-on-3 now for Hartford. And a power play goal again from Scheifele, his second of the game. So 2 power play goals early in the period. And then Nolan Patrick adds one. Hartford now up 6-1. 7-1 now, a goal from Dmitry Orlov. And Josh Gibson, they're just keeping him out there. And that's going to do it here. 7-1 victory for Hartford as they hit 14 games straight with points. Scott Wedge with 33 saves in backup duties, doing his job and doing it well. And now just one more game before the trade deadline here at Winnipeg, Mark Scheifele's former squad. And let's just make sure Markstrom is in for this one, which he is. And let's just review our run real quick. I've never seen anything, well, I've never expected anything like this from the Hartford Whalers. So we haven't lost in regulation in over a month. And over that span, we're 3-0-1, 4-0-1, 6-0-1, 6-0-2, 7-0-2, 10-0-2, 12-0-2 over that span. So let's see if we can keep it going here at Winnipeg prior to the NHL Trade Deadline. Hartford jumps up 1-0 with Mark Scheifele, another power play goal as he scores in his former rink. No scoring there in the second. And we'll live sim this third period, see if we can hold this lead. Hartford with 25 shots here. Winnipeg with 19. Less than half, or more than halfway through this third period. Less than 5 minutes now in the game. Hartford still up 1-0. Winnipeg on a power play. And Hartford hangs on for the 1-0 victory. Mark Scheifele, the lone goal scorer. And Markstrom pitches a shutout, stopping all 26 shots he faces. So Hartford heads into the deadline, a 15-game point streak, and we're now second atop the Metro and second in the Eastern Conference, ladies and gentlemen. Who would have thought? I knew it would be better this season, but this second half surge this team is displaying is just absurd. And I kind of have to relish in this glory and success right now prior to the trade deadline. As here we go, as you see there under team status and team chemistry, team status now calls us a conservative buyer. Just a couple weeks ago, our owner was calling us a seller. So how the tide turns. And Hartford, we have some things to think about now as we head into this trade deadline. And before we actually get into the trade deadline, I will show you just a little quick preview. I don't expect us to do too much. We may make one move as Logan Stanley is our lone player on the trade block. In our contracts, it said he's not interested in returning next year, and he's kind of been rotated as our 7th D-man anyway. Plus, we have Samuel Bolduc and Tyler Tucker in the AHL, both in that defenseman mold. So Stanley is someone we're going to probably move on from in a package if we can acquire one of these defensemen. And I talked about Issa Lindell. Dallas actually offered him to us, ironically enough. 16 points in 62 games, a 2A defenseman, 30 years old, good size, on a 1-year deal. So he's someone we could maybe re-sign. And he's an 85 overall, pretty good numbers throughout his tenure in Dallas. And I wish it was a right-handed shot, but his value level isn't too high. It's definitely not out of our range. So he's someone I think we may acquire here. And then I'll bring it over to our other target. And that's Rasmus Andersson. Calgary actually currently holds a playoff spot, although it's well documented how they've just been kind of cleaning house there and getting rid of everyone. Andersson, an 87 overall, right-handed defenseman, and we would have him for another year as well on a pretty team-friendly contract. So he's someone who could come in and really change our defensive unit for the better, and he would probably be a top pairing guy for us. So I think he might be a little bit out of our range. I'm not going to mortgage our future, give up a bunch of picks. Maybe I'd be willing to give up a second along with a few other pieces, but I'm not getting rid of any of our prospects we just drafted, and I'm certainly not going to give up a first round pick at this point, as there's a waiver claim, no interest there. And we will go into we'll actually just keep current block as a conservative buyer. So let's enter the trade deadline here, and like I said, I don't know if we're going to be doing anything too crazy, but we might try to acquire Lindell or maybe even Rasmus Andersson. As we see, he has the St. Louis Blues, Minnesota Wild, and Nashville Predators all interested. And it does say for return they want a first-round draft pick, and we're just not going to do that. Maybe if we were a little bit further along in this series and kind of a little more solidly built, then maybe we would be willing to give up a first-round pick for a player to kind of complete this team. But I do still think we're a couple pieces away before we make a serious run at a Stanley Cup, despite our current point streak. We're playing tremendous hockey, and maybe we could surprise some people in the playoffs, but I still don't know if we could deal with the top teams in the Eastern Conference right now. So I'm going to just get a trade working. We'll go over to Rasmus Andersson first, and he would really, I think, put this team over the top a little bit. You see that trade meter is incredibly high, so I don't know if we're going to be able to pull this one off. Like I said, I'm not going to. Let me get a trade offer here from Florida. No thanks. And it's okay. I thought it was going to pull me out of the trade altogether. So still working here. And Frederick Leonard is probably our highest rated prospect in our organization, aside from Sammy Maki, obviously, who's already at the NHL level, our first overall pick. We're not going to get rid of Leonard. We're going to try and develop him as he has elite potential and could be a top-line player for us down the road. Moving down a little bit, Braden Schwartz was our third-round pick last year, two-way forward at left wing. And, we're not going to get rid of him either. As you see at the bottom there, Brock Besser traded to the Winnipeg Jets. Wow. I don't know about that one, Vancouver. And, Dallas, really no interest in any of these guys, or else they turn green. They have interest in all these. Calgary has no interest in any of these guys, really. What if we were to send over Daniil Chaika? We acquired him at last deadline for Matt Grzelcyk and Nick Cousins. But if we were able to flip that and involve him in a package for Rasmus Andersson, I think that might be worth it. Although I did just see a trade alert at the bottom from Calgary, but it looks like it wasn't for Rasmus Andersson. So he's still on the Flames. We maybe have to kind of rush here if we're going to put something together. So we already are without our 5 this year and our 4 next year. I think those were involved in the Jacob Markstrom trade, if I'm not mistaken. So let's actually. I really didn't want to give up Daniil Chaika in this one, but if you look at it from a point of view of, we flipped Grzelcyk for Chaika, so in return it kind of is Grzelcyk for Andersson in a way. Obviously as part of the package, not the whole deal. So we'll start with Chaika. We will just throw Logan Stanley in there as well, even though they don't have interest in him. He can kind of just take Andersson's spot there in the back end. And then what else? We'll throw in our AHL goalie they have interest in. So 2 minimal pieces probably. At least Stanley's an NHL player. And then an intriguing prospect in Chaika. And that's definitely not going to get it done. So we'll throw in maybe a 3 next year and see if that tickles their fancy. I doubt it, but we're just. You gotta buy low here. So that one's not going to do it. I don't want to give up too many draft picks. We're already down 1 in each of the next 2 drafts. As you see at the bottom, Arizona trades Joe Pavelski to the Jets. So the Jets acquire Brock Besser and Joe Pavelski so far in this deadline. I don't know. Should we just make it a 2 next year instead? Should we try a 2 next year? I don't want to give up a second rounder, but. And I think that actually might put us over the edge if you look at those meters at the bottom. We get an offer there for Arvidsson, but we're not trading him. Maybe in the offseason, we still have him for 1 more year. Maybe we trade him in the offseason. So let's take away Chaika. I still don't think this is going to go. So I think Chaika is going to have to be involved in this deal, unfortunately. And let's throw another draft pick back at us from Calgary and see how they feel about that. And they're just stocking up the draft picks. So you have our 4. Let's see if we can get our 4 back next year. Trade alert at the bottom, Ottawa. Nothing really. Kevin Shattenkirk to the Senators. They are going to reject that. So now let's just go down and make it a 5. Let's see if a 5 will work. And then we'll just go down to a 7 and see if that gets it. I don't think that's going to be enough. And it's not. What if we take away the 7? Still not enough. So we're probably going to have to add another pick. And what if we just add in our 7 this year? What if we add in our 6 this year? And I don't know how much more I'm going to want to add to this. Still no. And we don't have a 5 this year. Should we try and throw in a 5 for next year? Or is that just overdoing it? I mean, right-handed defenseman, very hard to come by. He would really propel us in our playoff push. Did miss some time due to injury, but he would get on the team and probably be our top defenseman right away. And we would still have him next year, which is one of the biggest aspects of this. So a 5 is not going to do it. I think we're going to have to do a 4. Try a 4 for this year. And still no. We're going to have to make it a 3 maybe or 2. Yeah, see, I don't think this is going to happen. Maybe I'll do a 3. It looks like down at the bottom, the Flyers acquired Noah Hannafin. He was just signed to the Red Wings over the offseason, I believe. All right, so a 3 this year, a 2 next year, Chaika, Seelovs, and Stanley. And that's still not going to get it done, so we tried. We gave it the old college try, but I don't think we're getting Rasmus Andersson. That would have been nice, but maybe we'll try again in the offseason when he'll be on a 1-year contract. Maybe we can get him for a little bit less. Just going through. I guess we'll go to the trade summary. Just check out what's happened so far as we're about halfway through this trade deadline. Nashville acquired Maxime Masse. I don't know why Buffalo would do that. I'm pretty sure they just drafted him pretty high a couple years ago. And they only get 2 3s and a defenseman. They Hannafin to the Flyers. Shattenkirk to Ottawa. Pavelski still playing in Winnipeg. Varlamov traded to Chicago, as that sends Pius Suter and a 3 to the Islanders. John Klingberg was who Calgary traded. They traded him to Minnesota. Then Nate Danielson and Nikkanen to Vancouver. They do get a good prospect there in Danielson, although Brock Besser to Winnipeg. I don't know. That doesn't make too much sense to me, but what do I know? So I guess now we'll try to pursue a trade for Esa Lindell of the Dallas Stars. I much would have preferred to get a right-handed shot, and especially someone like Rasmus Andersson, but we're just not giving up that type of package here. So let's see. They're interested in more. I don't think we're going to try and give up anyone there at the top, as we do get a trade offer here from Montreal, and we're not trading Lawton for Savard. All right, so back to it. Negotiating a trade for Esa Lindell. And we're not going to give up any of these guys. Will Coyle, maybe we would include Hunter Brzustewicz. I don't know if we want to give up a right-handed defenseman prospect. So yeah, we're not going to. He'll be with the AHL team next year. We're not going to get rid of him. Entwistle, I certainly wouldn't mind including in the deal. Missed a lot of time there in the AHL this year, but putting up good numbers. But long-term, he doesn't really have a spot on our NHL team. That really doesn't cover much ground for us in this trade. And I would rather probably start with a 3. And Entwistle, it's not going to be enough. What about Arthur Seelovs? I don't think that's going to get it done either, but we'll try it. And they're not definitely not down with that one. Another trade there from LA as they're trying to get Arvidsson back. So we're definitely going to have to package at least a couple picks. So what about a 3 this year? And a 7 next year. And we'll probably throw Logan Stanley in as well. Just give them a straight up replacement while gaining some draft capital. So Entwistle, Stanley, a 3 and a 7. Another trade offer. And they actually offer us a trade, but we're not going to give them Lawton. So they want Lawton a 3 and a 6 for Lindell, Ryan Suter, and then a 4 and a 5. I don't know why they're adding all this extra stuff. We just want Lindell straight up. So we're back to it now. We'll take away the 7 since we added Stanley. And now from here, we're just going to work with the 7 and inch our way up to see if we can get them to accept something. And they do accept that one. So we acquire Issa Lindell. And that honestly wasn't too much. Far cheaper than what we would have had to have given up for Rasmus Andersson. And granted, a much better player. But still, Lindell adds a lot of stability to our defensive unit. And overall-wise, he's already our top defenseman. So I'm pretty happy about that trade. We give up Entwistle, Logan Stanley, and just a 3 and a 7. So nothing too crazy on that one. Is all you also see there, Calgary acquires Cody Glass for Sharon Govich. They also trade Ryan O'Reilly for a 2 and a 5 to Carolina. And pretty much we're all cut up in this trade deadline. We just have an hour and a half now, which probably equates to just a couple minutes here. We'll go up the draft board, although I only have one guy watched. So that leaves us with only 5 picks in this upcoming draft, although we do keep our top 4. So definitely happy about that. And you got to consider, we traded for Markstrom, Lindell, so we didn't have to give up any premium picks to improve our team. David Perron goes to the Islanders with Mata. I guess we'll just look at some stats here as this trade deadline winds down. I was going to try and get to him anyway. We kind of already went over our player stats, but here at least we see him kind of sorted. Tom Wilson, third on the team with 41 points. He's been getting it going. Zadina playing out of his mind. Mangiapane with even 17 goals, 17 assists. Scott Lawton, 30 points. Comfer and Evans each with 29 points. Leo Carlson also with 29 points. And he's been kind of putting together a good stretch here towards the end of the season. Nolan Patrick looking for a 10-goal season. Cody Ceci, 10 goals, 11 assists. Sean Walker at plus 20. And there's Lindell. So 2 goals, 14 assists. 21-13 time on ice per game. And like I said, at 85 overall, he's already our top defenseman. On a cheap 1-year deal. Or I guess not cheap. 5.8 million is definitely not cheap. But for what we hope he's going to provide, certainly worth it. Now just an hour left in this deadline. Pavelski was moved. Andre Fleury still on Minnesota. Kadri got traded. I kind of missed that one. Connor Garland got traded. I think I missed that one as well. I know it says off the market, so I guess they just took him off for trades. We get a trade offer here for Tom Wilson. And no thank you, Seattle. Yeah, I thought because it said off the market that they were traded, but then it would say sold like it does there with Pavelski. So Kadri and Garland just not going to get traded. Varlamov got traded. Rasmus Andersson was taken off the market after our attempt to trade for him. So maybe Calgary saw that they weren't going to get what they wanted and they just decided to pull him and bring him back next season. Tom Wilson getting 2-2s offered from Chicago, but we're not doing that. Chicago, a great run last year as they made the playoffs in year 1 of Connor Bedard, but this year they're out of the playoff picture. Anze Kopitar was actually someone I considered pursuing, but just to add, a little flair to our top couple lines, but he's going to be too expensive, and we're not going to give all that up for a 37-year-old forward. Although Anze Kopitar, one of my favorite players of all time. Now it's 11:30. Trade deadline hits at 12. Hoffman traded to Winnipeg, acquired a trio of forwards here. And I don't even think they're in the playoff picture either. So just to recap our trade, we sent Mackenzie Entwistle and Logan Stanley, along with a third and a seventh, to the Dallas Stars for Esa Lindell as we improve our defensive unit. It just has me thinking, though, in the midst of a 15-game point streak, do you mess around with your roster? Do you add new pieces in? I think I might hold off until it comes to an end, to be honest. And we have 15 minutes left, so I'll just exit this trade deadline. There's no need to sit here unless we're actively negotiating or something. So the top trade deadline notification we get, John Klingberg traded to Minnesota as Calgary gets a nice defensive prospect and Muse along with a second-round pick. Philadelphia gets Noah Hanifin and Silverberg for whatever reason as they trade 2 2s and a goalie prospect to Detroit. I don't know why the Flyers would do that. Currently sitting at the bottom of the Metro. Brett Leeson up for waivers, a 79 overall power forward. And we did just trade Mackenzie Entwistle, so Leeson could be a guy to maybe take his spot. Would it? So it's weird because he's on a 2-way contract, but he still has to clear waivers. I thought a 2-way contract just meant they can go up and down. So if I claim him, can I send him to the AHL? I guess so, right? I don't know. We'll just decline. If someone has an answer for me on that, please let me know in the comments. If I claim a player, does he have to go to my NHL roster, or can I just send him down? Because then why would he have to clear waivers if we're not putting him on our NHL team? So, like I said, despite our acquisition of Esa Lindell, we're just going to keep rolling with our current defensive unit. So, is he even in our lineup? And I don't like that. The game messed with my lines. That's just awful. No one authorized that. So I have some work to do. I'm going to have to refix everything following that trade deadline. So stay tuned. All right, and so we're back ready to roll. 12-0-2 over our last 14 as we're ready to kick it into high gear here towards the end of the season here in year 2 of this Hartford Whalers expansion franchise. So now we visit the Arizona Coyotes, who are currently in a playoff spot. We go up 1-0 with a goal from Patrick Kane. Now 2-0, a goal from Mangiapane. And let's sim this third period as Arvidsson nets one early on. Up 3-0 now, 5 minutes into the third period. Another one there from Jake Evans, now up 4-0 against a current playoff team in the Arizona Coyotes. Markstrom is in net for this one, looking to get another win here for the Whalers. And that'll do it here. I wanted to say Markstrom looking for a shutout, but of course you can't mention that before it actually happens. Markstrom, another shutout here in this episode, stopping all 33 shots. So 8th straight win for the Hartford Whalers as they're now 13-0-2 over their last 15. Just an unreal run they're putting together. Now we're going to host the Columbus Blue Jackets, and it's well documented in past episodes how Patrick Laine just absolutely obliterates us. In an earlier episode from last season, there's an episode where Patrick Laine netted a hat trick against us, and Columbus beat us like 7-1 in that game. It was just, I think it was 8-2. It was just brutal to watch. So now we'll look to fend off the Blue Jackets, and actually want to double check. We'll take a look at the standings here before we move on. We haven't looked at the standings too much lately. So the Metro, we're second place behind the New York Rangers, as I think they lead the Eastern Conference. They do lead the East. We're actually second in the East. Just unreal right now. Florida, Columbus, they're fourth in the East, third in the Metro. The Islanders and Pittsburgh currently in playoff spots. And then let's just go entire league. Edmonton leading the way in the West, followed by Minnesota. And a big drop-off. Buffalo currently a playoff team. Nashville, top 3 in the West. We'll kind of just focus on the Western Conference now. The Ducks, Coyotes, Avalanche, Blackhawks. So just kind of a weird turn of the tide here in the West. I guess Vegas really the only team you would expect to be in the playoff picture out of it. But still, Arizona in there, Anaheim way ahead of schedule, Nashville that high is kind of surprising. And Minnesota, they've had a tremendous season as well. So now let's go to entire league and look at the bottom. And St. Louis, only 48 points so far in this season. They actually fired their coach earlier in the year. Philly, the bottom team in the East. San Jose, and then Dallas, who we just acquired a defensive player from. And then the Devils, Jets, Kraken, Canucks down there as well. And we'll get on with the simming. I don't know how far we're actually going to go. But we're just going to continue to ride this streak for now, I guess. Tough task here, though, against the Blue Jackets, who got even better in the offseason after making the playoffs last year. We jump ahead 2-0, a power play goal from Leo Carlson, and JT Compher gets one as well. Nothing in there in the second. We're out shooting them 28-9. And another shutout here. We only allow 16 shots against a potent Columbus offense. We get 38 on goals. Arvidsson and Lawton get one there in the third. 4-0 victory. And a shutout here. And our goalie, I want to say Markstrom was in for this one. Markstrom gets a 16-save shutout. Back-to-back shutouts for Markstrom now. 4 on the season, I believe. 3 of which have come in recent games since returning from injury. And there you see our season ticket drive. We're not doing too hot. It's been kind of hard. We have such a low budget, and we can't really upgrade any of our facilities or anything like that. So hopefully next year, after this successful season thus far, hopefully next year we get a little bit more revenue. And now a road game here against Florida, who are currently second in the Atlantic. Up there battling Buffalo, who's had a tremendous season. And I think we will throw Wedgwood in for this one, though, just to give him some rest coming off back-to-back shutouts. And they already actually did throw Wedgwood. So let's take a look at Markstrom's numbers. 22-6-3, a .922 save percentage, .229 goals against, and 4 shutouts. At age 35, he's kind of looking like he was in that 2021-22 season where he was just absolutely phenomenal for Calgary. So Markstrom certainly proving to be the missing ingredient here for us. And now we'll sim this game against Florida. Another tough task against a potential playoff opponent. So tied up there, 2-2 after 1 for Hagee and Denisenko. Made it 2-0. Then Mangiapane and Patrick fought our way back in it. We go ahead 4-3. Another goal from Patrick and another goal from Mangiapane. So they're getting it going here for Hartford, and we'll live sim this third period. So is that, what, a 17-game point streak now for the Whalers? And we traded for Esa Lundell, and like I said, we actually haven't even thrown him in the lineup yet. We're just riding this point streak, and kind of a bizarre situation as we net an empty netter from Mark Scheifele. And again, Hartford wins. I want to say that's 10 straight wins. 2 goals and an assist from Mangiapane, 2 goals there from Nolan Patrick. Like, I feel like I'm dreaming right now. I seriously cannot believe how well we're playing right now. Now we're set for a matchup against the San Jose Sharks, who have only won 1 of their last 10 games and currently rank second worst in the NHL. Wouldn't this be the game to snap the streak? Hartford enters 16-0-2, a 10-game win streak, and an 18-game point streak. And they fall behind after the first. Patrick Kane nets an early one, although Adam Henrique gets one shorthanded, and then Zetterlund puts them ahead. And there we gave up 4 goals to the San Jose Sharks as they lead 6-2. Wow, that's just unreal. Foligno tied it up early in the period, and then Markstrom just fell apart as San Jose scored 4 in about 7 minutes. And then we do allow 8 as Markstrom out there the entire game. I don't know why we wouldn't just bring in Wedgwood as we drop this one 8-4 against the San Jose Sharks. Ugly display there. And I knew our time had to run out eventually. But so that's going to do it for our winning streak. 10-game winning streak, 18-game point streak, a 16-0-2 span. It's March 8th. And the last time we lost, it was I'm sorry, the last time we lost in regulation, it was January 27th. So about a month and a half between regulation losses. And now with, like 15 games left, obviously we got to get Esa Lindell into the lineup and get him acclimated as Hartford fully set here for a pretty nice playoff run. And now with Lindell in the lineup, he'll make his debut against the New York Rangers, currently the only team ahead of us right now in the Eastern Conference. 46 wins right now on the season. So we will sim this one, and we'll probably jump in the third period at some point just to check out a little bit of Esa Lindell in his debut. No scoring there in the first. And then we get a power play goal in the second from Andrew Mangiapane. And we'll let this third period play out a little bit in the live sim, probably about 10 minutes, and then we'll jump in. So still 1-0, 8:56 left. We're going to jump in and get our first look at Esa Lindell in a Hartford Whalers sweater. And here we go from the XL Center. Hartford up 1-0 with less than 8 minutes left here against the top team in the entire league, the New York Rangers. Lafreniere with it against the boards. Now Lindgren will give across the ice to White, who gives back to Lafreniere. Picked off in the neutral zone by Patrick Kane. Zadina will take it in for Hartford. Poked away, picked up by Orlov. Now Zadina. Loose puck. Lindgren will give up to Lafreniere. Lafreniere works his way in. And that loose puck trickles to Markstrom, who will cover for the freeze. And a defensive draw ensuing here for Hartford. Isn't that funny? We get rocked 8-4 against San Jose to snap our tremendous winning streak, our 18-game point streak, 10-game winning streak, and now against the the league's top team. There we go. Bear with me here. Now we're up 1-0 late, and Patrick Kane takes it in with some speed, and he can't finish there, stoned on the pad as he tried a fancy move there in front. He takes it back over in the neutral zone as Lindell, there 23, skates back to his defensive spot. Panarin will feed to Miller. K'Andre Miller with it. Picked off by Kane again in the neutral zone. He's playing with some fire here. Picked up by Trouba off the loose puck. Now Zibanejad will give over to Trocheck. Loose puck picked up by Lindell. Lindell making his Hartford Whalers debut here. He loses possession. Now Trouba takes it in, and the Rangers have numbers here. A shot. Good save by Markstrom into the corner. Trocheck to Zibanejad. He works his way in front to save Markstrom. Zibanejad still with it. Now Trouba shot. Blocker save against the boards. Now Arvidsson kicks behind the net. Picked up by Lawton. Lawton scapes it up. Peels back. Gives a cross ice back to Patrick Kane. Still out there as we're less than 3 minutes now left in regulation. Tyson Barrie feeds back to Markstrom, who gives to Arvidsson. What are we doing? Lindell back with it. And Lindell a feed to Arvidsson to Lawton. Lawton skates it in back to Wilson. Wilson a shot blocked in front. Arvidsson picks it up in front of the net. His shot pad saved by Skaric. And he'll freeze that one. Less than 2 minutes now of a 1-0 game. Now an offensive zone faceoff here for Hartford. Scott Lawton out there with Arvidsson and Tom Wilson. And Lawton wins that one, although it's picked off there by Colin White. Loose puck back into New York territory. Schneider over to Lafreniere. That pass goes astray. Now Orlov against the boards. Less than a minute left here in regulation. Rangers have to get something going here. White with it. Gets to Lafreniere. They pull the goalie now. Less than 30 seconds. Loose puck in the corner. Picked up by White. White works his way in front of the net. A shot save Markstrom. Now 22.2 here. As Markstrom, another tremendous performance. What a second half of the season he's had. Not even second half, just this past month or so since returning from injury. Carlson now out there for Hartford. He'll win that back to Cody Ceci. Ceci against the boards. Passes over to Mangiapane. Mangiapane gives to Carlson. Carlson working it in for Hartford. And he's going to score on the empty netter as Hartford goes up 2-0 here against the league's top team in the New York Rangers. Carlson has really picked it up. We've been pleading him to pick up his play And I mean, an empty netter isn't really an indication of that, but 11 goals now on the season as he's netted a bunch here in the past couple episodes. Now 34 points for Carlson, tied with Lawton. And just 12.5 ticks left here. Carlson's still back on the draw. He wins that back to Ceci. Ceci and Mangiapane on the assist. And Ceci's tripped down there, as Hartford will just kill the rest of this clock, hopefully, and not allow New York to get a stoppage. And they will not. And another shutout for Jacob Markstrom. Is that 5 now? 4 in the past 2 episodes for Jacob Markstrom. Just playing absolutely out of his mind. As Hartford now points in 19 out of 18, winning 11 of their last 12 hockey games. Issa Lindell made his debut here in this one, as Hartford just ripping along here towards the end of this year 2 season. They're certainly in line for a playoff spot, and shutting out the league's top team 2-0 on home ice is a huge achievement in itself, as that'll end it here from the XL Center. So a tremendous win there against New York, and I just want to check Markstrom's shutouts recently. He's been just on a monster pace. So in the last, not even 2 weeks, in the last 3, 4, 5, 6, in the last 6 games, he has 4 shutouts. Markstrom just playing some insane hockey, maybe the best stretch of his career, best 2-week stretch of his career. So we covered a lot of ground here, made a nice deal there at the trade deadline. We're playing probably the best hockey, hopefully not the best hockey we'll ever play in this series, but I mean, I don't know how you get much better than this. So this is where I'm going to leave you, folks. We're at 40 wins now, already 6 improved from last year's total, and we still have 14 games left to play here. So as always, everybody, it's been real, and be well. Thank you so much for keeping up with this Whalers franchise, and I'll see you next time.